Hello everyone, Twisted Animatronic here, and this is one of the biggest mysteries in Security Breach's history, and that is what actually happened to Glamrock Freddy. I mean, we have several different endings, many theorists coming to different conclusions. Well, not today, because we are going to solve once and for all the mystery that is Glamrock Freddy and his disappearance. And immediately, I'd like to start by saying I'm a massive Glamrock Freddy fan. My second video I ever made on the channel was on him, which was wrong, by the way. Not only that, I have a full Glamrock Freddy animatronic sitting next to me on the twisted couch on nearly every episode, not to mention a Roxy. So this theory has to be 100%. I cannot let our boy down. So let's start immediately by eliminating certain endings which we know are not canon in Security Breach, because this will give us our clue as to what actually happened to him. There's 6 endings in total: the alleyway ending, the disassembled Vanny ending, the rooftop ending, the gateway loading dock ending, the burn trap ending, the Princess Quest ending. One of them has to be correct, right? Well, maybe and maybe not. Maybe it's none of them, in fact. You see, there's various events which happen in Help Wanted 2 and in Ruin, which will give us an overall picture of what actually happened to our lovely Glamrock boy. And that's actually without touching any of the books, but I will come on to the brand new interactive novel later, because that will also help solve this puzzle. For us to actually figure out what happened to Glamrock Freddy, let's move our eyes to Ruin, because in Ruin, we see Chica and Monty both appear in their shattered / decommissioned states. Now that tells us something immediately, because when you play through Security Breach, you only select one, not them both. You only select them both if you're going for a specific ending, and that ending is the one where we go to the abandoned pizzeria, and to get there, you need Monty's claws, so you'd have to decommission him, and you need Chica's voice box, and you'd have to decommission her. The other endings won't require you decommissioning both of them together. The fact that in Ruin we see Monty and Chica both decommissioned tells us that Gregory, in Security Breach, did follow that route in decommissioning them both, pointing us in the direction of the burn trap ending. Not only that, we know at the start of Ruin there's loads of newspapers scattered throughout. On that newspaper, it indicates that an earthquake had happened and it created some type of sinkhole. That specific event only is seen in the burn trap ending, so immediately we have 2 pieces of evidence pointing towards a burn trap ending. But there's a huge problem with this, because we have some conflicting evidence here. In Ruin, we come across Princess Quest 3, and the machine is on its side with a golden sword impaled in it. Now immediately you think there's nothing wrong here. Well, you couldn't be further from the truth, because this indicates that the Princess Quest ending is now canon, because Gregory, believe it or not, completes Princess Quest 1, 2, and 3 in the Princess Quest ending, freeing Vanessa and freeing Freddy. And that would only happen if you complete all 3 of the Princess Quest machines, and Ruin is showing us that that has happened, right? But hang on, it's also showing us that events from the burn trap ending has happened as well. So can you see why things start to get confusing here? But don't worry, we will clear all that up and find where our best boy is. Now I know what you're thinking, a combination of both them endings could be canon, right? Well, it could be, but I'm going to throw another spanner in the works. In Ruin, we see indications everywhere, from graffiti to images plastered on walls, that Vanny is still around. Now, if that's the case, how can the Princess Quest ending now be canon? Because obviously in the Princess Quest ending, we free Vanessa, and that would mean Vanny is no longer more. Poof! She's poofed from existence. But everything in this ruined pizzaplex in Ruin is indicating Vanny is still around. And to add even more confusion, we now see a Glamrock Freddy animatronic who tries to kill us, missing his head, which is also from one of the endings. But let's quickly clear up this Glamrock Freddy, because that's pretty easy. Now, initially when Steelwool released the trailer to Ruin, it showed us Glamrock Freddy, the bit where they're coming out of the dumpster, and on its foot it had no markings, nothing at all. Now in the game we come across the same thing, and there's markings there saying prototype. This was clearly added in by Steelwool to give us some type of indication, and that indication doesn't need to be overthought or anything like that. They've put prototype on this Freddy's foot to show us this isn't the original Freddy. And logically, we know that wouldn't be the case anyway, because a pizzaplex of this side would have multiple backup Freddys. I mean, in Help Wanted 2, we also see a replacement Glamrock Freddy, showing us that there are multiple. I mean, it's pretty obvious of a pizzaplex that size, the next day they're going to reopen anyway, so they would use one of their backup Freddys. Makes sense. That's one reason why it's not our Freddy, and even if it was our Freddy, this Freddy is missing its head, meaning it has to be be somewhere, right? And just so happens to be that in that Princess Quest ending, Gregory leaves the Pizzaplex with Freddy's head in a duffel bag. So if the head has left the Pizzaplex, the body could likely be controlled by the glitch trap virus / mimic. I don't believe that to be the case. I believe it to be a different Freddy, and I'll give you another piece of evidence. You see, when this prototype Freddy gets up, you'll notice a few things here. One, he has a present inside of his chest. Now, we know our Freddy from the beginning of Security Breach did have a present in his chest, but it was removed because Gregory went inside there. And not only that, the presents are 2 completely different colors. I know that doesn't mean anything in itself, but I just wanted to point that out, that there's a difference there, because they're trying to show us that this prototype is a different Freddy. So that could mean then that our boy Freddy could still have his full body, you know, not just the head, right? Because we've already established that multiple endings could be canon here. Sure, he loses his head in the Princess Quest ending, but in the Burn Trap ending, he runs out of the Pizzaplex full-bodied with Gregory. But nope, I'm gonna throw another spanner in the works there, because if he did leave full-bodied, how would he recharge? I mean, he even says in the bad ending, the alleyway ending, you know, the one where we see Gregory in an alleyway because he just leaves the Pizzaplex and leaves Freddy there. He literally says he can't leave the Pizzaplex because he will have no way to recharge.
Without a recharge station, my systems would shut down within an hour. It is a safety precaution. It is my design.
So has he left the Pizzaplex? Well, I'm going to bring another ending up now, the gateway / loading dock ending. You see, in this ending, you can literally either A, dismantle Chica, or B, dismantle Monty, and after that, you can go to the loading dock or the gateway, whatever it's called, and you can leave with Freddy. And what happens in this ending shows us that Gregory can indeed take Freddy with him because he uses the car battery to jumpstart / restart Freddy. All but confirming there's a way to recharge Freddy outside of the Pizzaplex. So either way, Freddy could leave the Pizzaplex with or without his body, head or no head. I'm also going to throw another spanner in the works here, because the Disassembled Vanny ending also could have elements to prove this is canon. This is the ending where you see Gregory go up to Vanny's room and the staff bots literally attack Freddy, push him off the walkway in the Phaser Blast and dismantle him, right? This also happens to be the place we find the prototype Glamrock Freddy all destroyed. The same place where Freddy gets destroyed in the Disassembled Vanny ending. Now, the reason I bring all this up is because it's really confusing, right? You know, I've said like 3 different endings, 4 different endings, and they all have elements which could make them canon. But it doesn't help solve where our boy is. For that, I'm going to dig even deeper. Let's look to Ruin one more time. And in Ruin, you collect pieces of a comic book which Gregory drew. Now, all these pieces from this comic book reference one ending or another. All endings apart from one. And that's the Princess Quest ending. Now, that doesn't immediately mean it's canon. It means that for whatever reason, he's chose not to reference that, either because it didn't happen or it means something else. Now, we know in Ruin is clearly referencing Princess Quest a lot. We saw Princess Quest 3's machine on its side with the sword impaled for it, indicating it happened, right? And not only that, there seems no indication of glitch trap presence throughout Ruin. I mean, the animatronics seem free of glitch trap's control. Look at Roxy. She's no longer hunting Gregory down like a madman and actually befriends Cassie and saves her in the ending. The same could be said for about Chica. She doesn't necessarily pursue us, and she does actually grab Cassie's arm and doesn't attack her. Monty, on the other hand, has totally lost it. His circuit's completely fried and has resulted in an animalistic-like state. But nevertheless, there's no indication of glitch trap throughout the entirety of Ruin, only that Vanny is potentially still around. And by now, you've probably noticed one thing, that all of the endings we've talked about so far have some element of truth to them. I mean, they could be canon. The problem is here, if we try and say that none of them are canon, that would be a major issue. Or one of them is canon and the rest are not. And if we did say that, that would literally render most of Security Breach's gameplay and lore completely meaningless. So to me, it's pretty clear what's going on here. There are snippets of truth in every single ending. That's apparent from the evidence I've discussed in each ending, right? But we're still missing something here. And for that, I'd like to go back to one of the original trailers released for Security Breach. You see, in there, there's an overarching voice, which you can hear as if they're speaking to someone. Either it be Gregory, Freddy, Vanny more than likely, but it's clearly someone who's manipulating this other person, right? The voice is very deep, dark. Most people thought it was Afton. Here, have a listen to this.
You will do as I say. You will bring me what I want. And if you fail me, then you will, both of you, burn!
That's clearly telling us that they had a plan to have an overarching villain, right? But we're not done there. We know that Gregory, for whatever reason, was outside the Mimic's room. His backpack was literally left outside of there to indicate he was there, right? But why would he even be down there in the first place? And we didn't see this in Security Breach's playthrough, and this is what I believe brings it all together with our Freddy as well. We know before Security Breach, Gregory was mind controlled by Glitchtrap himself. The Glitchtrap is literally the Mimic 01 branch. So was Vanessa, and so was Freddy. The three of them together were working for the Mimic / Glitchtrap. Now, in last week's video, I explained how they break all our mind control and how it sets up Security Breach using evidence from the new interactive novel, which is coming out in April. Now, you imagine you find out you've been brain controlled for the past 2-3 months, doing unspeakable things. You're not going to be very happy about that, right? Gregory, Freddy, and Vanessa, you're going to want to take revenge, right? Or take this person down. You see, I believe all three of them are now working together, or was working together, to bring the Mimic down. Hence why Gregory's bag was left outside the room. They returned to put a stop to their old master's plans. Whether they left the Pizzaplex first or stayed there entirely and buried the Mimic underground and then left is unsure, but what is sure at this stage is that Gregory has definitely left with Freddy. The only question is, has he left the Pizzaplex with Freddy as himself, as a full body, or just a head? And if it was just a head, did Gregory dismantle him himself? Obviously, we see the prototype body in that room. I don't believe it's Freddy's, but it'd be pretty odd, a giant walking animatronic outside of the Pizzaplex. Someone's gonna know, right? So I believe Gregory purposely dismantled Freddy's head, put him in the duffel bag like in the Princess Quest ending, and took him out of the Pizzaplex that way. Purposely, he's the one who dismantled Freddy. This then also explains that really nasty evil voice in the trailer. That was their master, and that's whose plans they went back to foil. Obviously now we know it's the Mimic. We also know that there was potential that, believe it or not, the Mimic was actually Burntrap. I know, sounds shocking, but hear me out. In the Mimic's room, there's a vent to the side. Now you can clip through the walls here in debug mode, and in this vent you can see claw marks. These claw marks are exactly like Burntrap's hand. I mean, they fit perfectly. We also know that Burntrap's hand and the Mimic's shell has elements from Burntrap's endoskeleton. And if you want to get into the books, we also know that they describe the Mimic in the books initially as a Burntrap without anything in it, any flesh. A naked Burntrap is the exact words they use. We also know, because of the duffel bag notes and collectibles in Security Breach, that someone was siphoning power to the underground, and not only that, animatronic repair and charging equipment was going missing from storage. Now it obviously gets really confusing because that's Steelwool's interpretation of what Scott Cawthon wanted. It was revealed in an interview with Darko that Scott didn't give Steelwool all the pieces to his story and kind of give him hints and expected him to fill out the lore. That obviously backfired because we ended up with Burntrap when it should have been the Mimic all along from the very beginning. Hence why in Ruin it's now the Mimic, whereas in Security Breach it was the Burntrap. They then tried to kind of change it and fit the lore around what's going on. And let's face it, that's what Scott has been doing since FNAF 1. There was never a massive story, he was just releasing games and then trying to fix the previous game with the newest game coming out. All these endings then make sense. They're all snippets as to what actually happened. I mean, Cassie obtaining the Vanny mask after Vanessa had seemingly dropped it on the floor. Granted, it's slightly different, but it's there. Freddy being torn up, leaving his body there, but his head escaping the Pizzaplex. The Burntrap ending where the cave-in happens and we meet Tangle for the first time. Elements are there. The Princess Quest gameplay, where that gets beaten. All of these endings have something in them which is present in Ruin. And when we put all them pieces together, we kind of got a better picture. And the picture here is Gregory, Vanessa, and Freddy came back to stop and foil their master's old plans. With the likelihood being Freddy as a head. I mean, we literally even hear Gregory say at the ending of Ruin, when we're running away from the Mimic as Cassie, he says, "Follow," and it cuts out direction.
Just follow instructions.
It's one syllable, and it's likely is follow his direction, because we hear the S sound at the end. Why is that important? Well, he literally says before that this person has inside knowledge and knows the building plans off by heart. Who else would know the building plans? Sure, you could say Vanessa, but it was too long. The syllable is too long. Freddy would know the building inside out. And there you have it. That's what happened to our boy. He left the Pizzaplex with Gregory, and he's working with him to foil his master's new plans. Argo as a head, but you know. And then after that, he ends up on my couch as my best friend for the rest of his life. Fun times. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing because it really does help the channel out, and we're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, so it'd mean the world to me. Thank you very much. Huge thanks to the members who are on screen now. Your support really does go a long way in helping me make videos, so thank you very much. With an extra special thanks to Lauren and Penguin Lover 12. I'm Twisted Animatronic. Stay safe out there, superstars.